Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. It was the highest-rated primary debate of all time. Thursday's Republican debate on Fox News Channel shattered records with 24 million viewers. And we have a stellar lineup tonight to break it all down. But first, some of those GOP candidates are back on the campaign trail and speaking out at the annual RedState Gathering. Take a look at some of the highlights.
If you're looking at somebody who's running for president of the United States, you need to wonder, will they really do what they say they're going to do? Well, let me tell you this. If I can do it in a state with 750,000 more Democrats than Republicans and a completely Democratic legislature, I am battle-tested for Washington, D.C., everybody, and I'm ready to bring the fight there.
I tell people this is going to be a show me, don't tell me election. I mean, we've had 6.5 years of a pretty good talker. A young, inexperienced United States Senator that has gotten America in the ditch now.
Now, I know you're not supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Folks that want to come to America should come legally, should learn English, should adopt our values, and roll up their sleeves and get to work when they get here.
I will go into the Oval Office regularly, once a week, for example, in a weekly radio address, and I will say to you, fellow citizens, please take out your smartphones. I'd like to ask you a couple questions. Question number one, do you think it's important that we know where your money is being spent? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no.
America doesn't owe me anything, but I have a debt to America I will never repay. You see, this isn't just the country I was born in. This is the nation that literally changed the history of my family.
If somebody wants to argue about my conservative credentials, you put my record against the headwinds I fought against the Clinton machine. I'm here to tell you today, I fought it, I beat it, and most importantly, by gosh, I lived to tell about it.
They're not even having a debate. You're hearing their latest thing. Maybe we'll move it to October, November, December, maybe 2017 we'll schedule the Democratic primary debate. Actually, they did plan to have a debate earlier. Problem was the invitation was emailed to Hillary.
People are struggling today. We can't tell them how bad it is over and over again. We have to give them a sense that if you let us come in and work as a team and solve problems, that your spirits could be lifted up because your life will get better.
Last year alone, 6 of the top 10 wealthiest counties in America, you know where they were? In and around Washington, D.C. For the rest of us in America, we understand that people create jobs, not the government, and we need to help people in cities and towns and villages all across this country.
The first Republican primary debate of the 2016 presidential race certainly has had a lot of fireworks. And it also has some candidates who really stood out. Among the pack, many say Marco Rubio was one of those candidates. Take a look.
If I'm our nominee, how is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck? I was raised paycheck to paycheck. How is she going to lecture me? How is she going to lecture me about student loans? I owed over $100,000 just 4 years ago. If I'm our nominee, we will be the party of the future.
With me now, Democratic strategist Richard Fowler and Republican strategist and a senior director of the BlackRock Group, Lisa Booth. All right, good evening to both of you. Marco Rubio, Lisa, I'll start with you first. What's your take?
Well, I think Marco Rubio had an excellent debate. Look, he came into the debate incredibly prepared. You know, he hit all the right notes on every question from the economy to immigration to national security as well. And so I think he definitely came into the debate prepared. And I think one of the highlights that you just showed and one of the positive attributes him is talking about, you know, the income inequality and the fact that, you know, he came from humble beginnings. And so I think that's something that resonates with voters.
Okay. And Richard, your take on that?
Listen, I don't know. I think Marco Rubio definitely had a couple of good one-liners. So he was the standard of the debate. I think that's yet to be seen. I think the headline, since we've seen the debate a couple of days ago, has been Trump, 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 and more Trump, Judge.
Well, you know what? And it is about attention. No question about that. Another big moment was when John Kasich talked about same-sex marriage. Take a look at this, guys.
If you had a son or daughter who was gay or lesbian, how would you explain to them your opposition to same-sex marriage?
Well, look, I I'm an old-fashioned person here, and I happen to believe in traditional marriage. But I've also said the court has ruled.
But how would you explain to your child?
Megan, the court has ruled, and I said we'll accept it. And guess what? I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. Because somebody doesn't think the way I do, doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So if one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them and I would accept them.
All right, Lisa, that works really well in a general election, not so well in a primary election, primary nomination.
Well, and potentially that could get him into trouble. But look, what he did state is he is for traditional marriage. And so, I don't necessarily know if it's a bad thing for him to say that, look, even as someone who does believe in traditional marriage, you can still love other people even if you don't agree with them. You can
Richard, what's your take on that?
Oh, I think John Kasich was a standout from this debate. He was sort of the unknown going into it, but he's from a battleground state, the state of Ohio, which if Republicans plan on winning the White House, they have to win. And as being that governor, he's a reasonable guy. And I think out of everybody on that stage, he's the most able to govern. And so I think he had a stellar performance last night, and that line is just one of them.
Who needs to make the biggest splash between now and the next debate to either get out from those who didn't make the top 10 to get into it or to get higher within the top 10? Lisa?
Well, I think it would be Carly Fiorina. Look, she definitely was the highlight of the night. I mean, not only did she own the 5 p.m. hour, but she also
really need to make a big splash between now and the next debate?
She absolutely does, because look, she wants to be a top 10. She wants to be in that top 10 debate, and she wasn't able to do that in Fox News. And look, this is another thing that's incredibly important for her too. Look, she needs to be able to take this momentum and turn it into fundraising, turn it into her being able to build the kind of campaign infrastructure that she needs to be able to go to the distance, to be on the debate stage in February.
It seems like maybe given the kudos that she's gotten from everyone across the board, is there a question, as Lisa says, about her campaign structure or the organization? How come they weren't able to kind of pivot her to the point where people could even hear from her?
Well, here's the thing. I think what we saw with Carly this performance was it was stellar. She was the knockout from the kids' table or the 5 o'clock debate or the happy hour debate as it's being called on Twitter. But at the end of the day, I think what she shows that she's not only viable, but she has donors should go to her because she is a possible contender here. So I think, Google sort of said that she was trending after that debate, and that shows that donors are going to be rushing to Carly, especially after her performance yesterday. But I think of the...
Go ahead.
The shining stars, Judge, that I think the person who has to do the most improvement by the next debate is Jeb Bush. If Jeb Bush is supposed to go in as a sort of pseudo, I am the nominee, I am the old brass party
Jeb
choice, he's got to do a lot of work.
Lisa, what say you?
He was awful a couple of days ago.
Well,
who needs to make the biggest splash? Give me a name.
Well, I really do think it's Carly Fiorina here because look, Carly Fiorina.
Lisa, she's made a splash. I'm talking about someone who let's talk about the 10 then. Within the 10, who needs to make a bigger splash to move up within the 10?
I think, maybe it's, I think Rand Paul's in a lot of trouble, to be honest. I think he had a poor debate performance. I think he had a poor debate performance. And look, he is sort of hanging there towards the bottom of the 10. So he needs to stay viable. He needs to stay in the debate. He wants to be on the stage in September. Okay. And so I think he's in a little bit of trouble.
Paul, what do you say, Richard?
Well, but I think here's the thing. Rand was going into this debate to appeal to his base, and that's exactly what he did. In his sort of spat with Chris Christie, what you saw there was Rand doubling down on his positions, and that is key in the primary election. What you want to do is turn out your base in record numbers.
Though, Richard.
And libertarians aren't being polled here, Lisa. You know that.
Well, they are for the debates, Richard. So if he wants to be in the debate stage in September,
will register and will become part of the system because they want to see Rand Paul be the nominee. So I think he had a great performance.
Okay.
Who had a horrible performance is Jeb Bush. He was supposed to be the standout,
but part of that,
and he didn't stand out at all.
Being able to make it to the stage in September.
What do you want to hear from the candidates in the next debate that you didn't hear about in this debate?
I'd like to see them go after Hillary Clinton more. Oh, sorry. Well, I'd like to see them go after Hillary Clinton more. I mean, the problem is I think that Hillary Clinton continues to get a free pass from the media. I mean, mind you, the FBI there's a criminal probe from the FBI into her email servers, but we're not hearing about that in the media. So what I'd like to see is these Republican candidates put that to the forefront, go after Hillary Clinton, knock her on her record. She was a horrible Secretary of State, and to really narrow down those issues.
How about you, Richard?
Bad ideal. Here's the thing. I think if Republicans want to win this presidential race, they have to talk about two things. One, they have to talk about how we're going to deal with our veterans returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan. And two, they have to talk about jobs in the economy. And they have to be laser focused on jobs in the economy and laser focused on how we deal with our vets when they come back to the United States after being in war for the past 10 years. We didn't see a lot of veteran talk in this debate, and we hope we'll see it in the next one.
Well, and
right,
GOP candidates drove
Richard and Lisa, sorry, running out of time. Thanks so much, both of you, for being with us.